So what is Ansible? Like everyone of us know, it's a configuration management tool. But what is configuration management? Let's talk about a very simple scenario. Suppose you have got 5 servers, okay, 5 physical servers, like on-prem servers, let's say. Okay, on that you have to install some package, right? You can just log in and do that. You can log into it and install them, right? You can log into the server and install all the packages, whatever you need. Second, just give me a second. Sorry. Yeah. So Ansible is a configuration management tool, right? Like let's suppose we have 5 physical servers or anything. If you want to install a package, we will do that like manually. Like you can log into the server and you will install it, right? Let's say you want to start the service. All of these steps will be executed manually, correct? And at some point of time, let's suppose, okay, service is installed and all. Later it may be, so let's say something went wrong. One of the services on one of the servers is not working fine, right? We have to look into all of these issues, troubleshoot the things and fix it, correct? Correct. This will be a challenge when you have huge number of servers. Let's say you have 1,000 servers, right? How to handle those huge number of servers? If you have too many number of servers, if you have to configure something like install something, start something, how do you do that? If you are trying to do it manually, it will take a lot of time, right? Lot of effort, right? More people should be working, number of people should be working. All of this takes a it's a painful task, right? You don't have proper control on the infrastructure this way. Also, because you are doing manually, always it's error prone. Manual errors might be there, right? These are the challenges you have, right? How to handle this, right? So that's where configuration management tool called Ansible comes in. To configure your infrastructure, to do mass configurations means you have huge infrastructure, you want to install something there, you want to configure something, you want to create a user on all these servers. All of them can be automated with Ansible, right? Also mass deployments, like let's say you want to deploy a var file on a server. We did it in our Linux class manually, right? Even that can be done. Let's suppose, okay, your application is containerized. Even if you want to deploy those containers, this is how it can be done, right? So all of that can be taken care by Ansible. In simple, configuration management means having a better control on the infrastructure, like what is happening on what server at what time. right? Where it went wrong. Diagnosis becomes easy, and like to identify what happened, what went wrong becomes easy because you have a good control on the entire infrastructure. That's what a configuration management tool like Ansible does. And Ansible or any configuration management tool also uses the concept of IAC, uh, infrastructure as a code like Terraform, and Ansible uses YAML, which is very easy to use, right? Also, Ansible follows idempotency. Like if something is in place, it doesn't redo the things, right? State management will be there, which is another feature for all configuration management tools. Ansible is very simple, easy to learn, easy to set up. It is very much widely used above all configuration management tools. It's about configuring the infrastructure. It's more into configuring the infrastructure rather than provisioning the infrastructure. Of course, provisioning also it can do, but it's more or its strength lies in configuring the infrastructure. So what it is, Ansible is an open source IT configuration management, deployment, and orchestration tool, which aims to provide large productivity gains to a wide variety of automation challenges. Right? It can help in configuration management, deployment. If you have set of tasks, you want to execute them, all of them together in a particular sequence, orchestration tool helps in, right? Which aims to provide large productivity gains to a wide range of automation challenges. This tool uses push approach to automate the infrastructure, right? It implements push configuration. So push in the sense Ansible will push the configuration. So how it works, what is meant by push, we'll talk about it in detail. Say first infrastructure as code means it enables automation of IT tasks by provisioning code rather than manually handling each phase. We will do everything with code. We look at the infrastructure, we configure the infrastructure with a code. It bridges the environmental differences ops teams encounter every time they had to deploy new code. Right? And here, if you see configuration management versus tool script, earlier, before configuration management, they used to use shell scripts to configure the infrastructure, right? They used to write some shell scripts to configure, to provision the infrastructure. But once configuration management tools came in, shell script became obsolete because of all the limitations and drawbacks it has got. See the difference. This is the configuration management tool script for Puppet DSL, Puppet domain specific language, which is Ruby based. But it's almost understandable, right? When you see here user Spock ensure present means it makes sure user Spock is present with a group ID, home directory, shell program. Like it was very clear. But see the shell program, shell script. Shell script is a bit complex to understand. If someone writes it, it will be difficult for others to understand it, right? Also, shell scripting should be written from the scratch, meaning you have to define what is meant by package, what is meant by user, what is meant by, you have to define everything from the scratch. Whereas for configuration management tool scripts, the layout or the template is already predefined. You don't need to write from scratch. You don't need to explain what is meant by file, what is meant by user and all. You have everything, the templates, predefined templates to work with. Also, shell scripts, you should write a separate shell script for each of them. A separate shell script for Windows, separate shell script for Linux, and so on. Whereas configuration management tool script, you just write a single script which will configure the entire infrastructure. Just give me 1 second, please. I'm having some disturbance. 1 second. So let's suppose you write some shell script to automate the configuration on Windows. Okay, you have to write a separate script for Windows and Linux and so on, right? But that's not the case with configuration management tool script. If you write a script, a single script can automate the entire infrastructure, including Windows, Linux servers as well. You have different ways to do this, and that's completely possible. Whereas shell script, if you rely on shell script, yes, you should be writing a separate script for each of them, right? So those are the differences between using a shell script and the configuration management tool script. Like once configuration management tool scripts came in, shell scripts became almost obsolete. Nowadays we are not depending on shell script. Do you remember we have used shell scripts in our CI/CD pipelines? To install Git, to install Java and all. But now we will be using Ansible to do that, which is very much effective. We will not write a shell script that way. So configuration management tool script where can replace those shell script, whichever we have used to configure our servers in the pipeline or where whatever it is, right? And then, yeah, what is push configuration? Like we were talking about, push configuration is nothing but there will be one server which is called as Ansible server and Ansible host, Ansible server or Ansible controller machine, right? This is called Ansible controller machine, right? That's where Ansible is installed, and Ansible is actually product from Red Hat. And these are all the target servers. Target servers, we call them as Ansible hosts. And this controller machine or Ansible server, wherever you install Ansible, will push the configuration on the targets. And you don't need to install anything on the target machines. Okay, and hence it's called agentless, right? There is no agent, means it's agentless. So Ansible hosts do not have client software installed on them and they are agentless. Controller machine pushes configurations to its host machines. And what is a push? See, there are also configuration management tools which uses pull architecture. Pull means on the target machines, we have to install the software, like the client software, agent software will be installed. They will pull the configurations from master. That's what is pull configuration. Tools like Puppet, Salt, not Salt, Puppet Chef uses pull configurations, right? So push means, like I said, controller machine will push the changes, whereas here the target machines will pull them. So they will use master slave concept because all the target machines or client software will be installed and they will be pulling the configuration. Setup is a bit complex, right? Whereas in push, it's agentless. You don't need to install anything, absolutely nothing on the target machines, which makes the setup quite simple. Okay, push-based systems are completely synchronous as you can see the changes made instantaneously and can fix the system if changes cause problems. Another thing is push-based system means whenever you write the Ansible code, you run it, configurations will be applied on the targets. Whereas in the pull, targets have to pull the configurations, right? They have to pull the configurations. So they will pull at regular intervals. If you talk about Puppet, the default regular interval is 30 minutes. Of course, you can change it. Let's suppose you wrote the code at 7 o'clock or else you wrote the code at 6, right? Let's say previous configurations applied at 5:55. Next configurations as per the default run interval will happen at 6:25 only, even though you write code at 6 o'clock. It's not immediate, but of course you can change the timer and do it, but it always depends on the pull interval, which is not the case with the push. So means changes were not applied immediately here. It is depending on the pull configurations, but that's not the case with the push. Push means immediately changes are applied. So Ansible works with push configuration, which is very effective in automation, right? And talking about push versus pull, better control over the infrastructure. Whereas pull is scaling the infrastructure can be handled more effectively. When your infrastructure is scaling up drastically, pull can be effective. Of course, both will do, but pull configurations could be more effective in that case. Easy to manage and set up. It's very simple to set up push configuration tools because no client software need to be executed on the target machines. It's complex to set up. Let's say you don't have enough time or resources to do the setup. Better you go for push configuration. Changes are applied immediately here, but that's not the case with a tool. Right? And why Ansible? As it is easy to set up and it is agentless. This tool is very simple to use but powerful enough to automate IT operations. It can support scalable infrastructure of any size. So these are all some of the advantages of Ansible. Before we talk about the architecture, any questions in this part from anyone? Any questions? All right, let's talk about the architecture now. So like we discussed, Ansible will be installed on one server, which is called Ansible controller machine or Ansible server, right? This is the Ansible server. Okay. Sorry, this is the Ansible controller machine or Ansible server. And on whichever machine Ansible is installed, this should be only Linux machine. This should be only Linux. You can't install Ansible on Windows. It can use Ansible machines, means it can target, it can automate Windows machines, right? It can automate Windows machines, but you can't install Ansible on Windows. It should be Linux only and it should have SSH because SSH is a protocol it used to connect to target machines. Linux should be there, SSH should be there, Python should be there. On all Linux machines, you have all of these packages like Python, SSH, so you don't need to install anything else. These targets can be Linux or Windows as well. Anything is fine. But yeah, they should also have Python installed. Python comes for automatically for all Linux machines. Okay. And SSH should be installed for Linux. That's the protocol used. If it's a Windows, WinRM is the package manager used. Right? Windows Remote Manager. So, yeah, now those are the prerequisites. Now, let's talk about different components here. Once Ansible is installed, you get all of these components installed in the server, like modules, inventory, Ansible config file, playbooks. These are the different components Ansible will work with. So let's talk about how they work. Modules. First, let's talk about modules. See, these Ansible modules are called command center in Ansible. Means if you want to automate anything, if you want to do anything with Ansible, you will call a module. Right? Those are the main thing or main components which will helpful in automation. Right? So those are called command center in Ansible. And whenever you install Ansible, some hundreds of modules will be installed by default. Okay, by default, you get all those modules installed. And strictly speaking, if you ask me what are these modules actually, these are Python modules. You might have heard, right? In Python, there'll be something called modules. They write, they use the modules and all. Simply Python programs. It's not that you should learn Python to work with Ansible. You just call those Python programs. You don't need to learn Python. Like I said, Ansible is a product of Red Hat and it's basically a Python product, a Python application. Okay, that's why Python should be there on both the controller machine and the targets. And also it uses Python modules to automate the targets. Right? So that's the first component, modules. Second one is inventory. What is the dictionary meaning of inventory? A list or a stock, right? Like inventory of your groceries or else stationary items. You have a list or stock of the things. Same is the case here. Inventory means your target information, which you need to, which Ansible has to automate. all the IP address of the targets, their host names, whatever information. All of that is called inventory. By default, there will be an inventory file. You can have your inventory in many forms. We'll be working with static inventory first, and then we'll also use dynamic inventory. Okay, it will be basically a file, and these inventory can be grouped. You can group the servers, right? Like maybe depending on the type, like all AWS servers, all GCP servers, or else depending on the type, like application servers, web servers, or a DB servers. So we can also group them depending on all this categorization. Not only that, you can also create the groups like dev environment, prod environment, and so on. Right? That's what is inventory, where you will have the detail of your target machines. Right? And then Ansible config file, ansible.cfg. This also gets installed when you install Ansible by default in certain type of installations. Not that every installation will get this file by default. If it's not present, you can create it with the default settings, global settings. The way we install Ansible, we will not get this created by default. Whenever we want, we can create this file with all the global settings and configurations. Right? So that's the Ansible config file. And then comes another component called playbook. Playbook is very important, very most important component in Ansible. Playbook is nothing but a YAML file. This is your playbook with that extension .yaml. And that's your playbook. Ansible files with extension .yaml is nothing but a playbook. Inside the playbook, you can have different number of different plays. Each play will be separated by 3 hyphens. Means playbook will have place, place will have tasks. Tasks will be calling modules. Means your playbook will be integrating. Okay, let me tell you. What is a play? Play, let's say, is targeting dev servers. Play 2, this is another play targeting prod servers. Means how do you know dev and prod? Means it's connecting with inventory as well, right? And okay, on prod, install so and so package version 5. Here install version 4. So you are writing some tasks. Any number of tasks you can have in each play. And how will be every task executed through the module, isn't it? Means what is playbook doing? Playbook is interacting with inventory, interacting with modules, and it's getting all the global settings from ansible.cfg file. Means playbook in turn is working with all these components together. That's what is playbook. Making sense, everyone? So playbook can have any number of plays. Each play can have any number of tasks. Is this much clear, everyone? Understood? So that's the architecture, like that's about different components. Once you understand these components, we'll see the process of execution, like how Ansible will automate the targets. So these are the different components. Now, once you write the playbook, okay, let's suppose, okay, you write the playbook, okay, and run the playbook. What happens when you run the playbook? Write the playbook and run the playbook. What happens now? Whenever you run the playbook, playbook is calling the modules, Python modules. So it will create a little Python package at the backend. It will create a small Python package at the backend. Once this Python package is created, like we will be connecting it via SH, right? This package will be copied to the target via SSH connection, right? Once this package is copied to the target means that package is executed there. That's why we need Python on every machine. Package is executed means configurations are applied. And what if configurations are applied? Configurations are applied means automation happened. So once automation is done, that package will be deleted from target, keeping the system clean, like safe housekeeping methods. Right? That's all. This is what happens when you run Ansible playbook. You write the playbook and run the playbook. It will be calling the modules. At the back end, it will create a small Python package which will be copied to the target. Once it's copied to the target, this package will be executed and the configurations would be applied there. And then the package will be deleted from the target using the safe housekeeping methods. Clear, everyone understood this? Any questions? This is the process of execution that happens in Ansible. If you are clear with this, we shall go on to the set. Ansible, there should be one controller machine and there can be any number of targets. We'll start with one controller machine and one target. Any questions from anyone?
Preeti, can you just give a brief on this architecture once again, if possible?
The complete architecture,
Yeah, the Ansible architecture.
you missed it or you joined late?
I joined, but I was not able to get it. I was a bit confused in this.
These are the different components in the Ansible architecture, like modules, inventory, Ansible config, and playbook. Modules, these are all the components you get when you install Ansible. Modules are like the Python programs which are responsible in automating the targets. Inventory is a list of your targets. Ansible CFG file is which will have all the global settings like the path of the inventory, path of the module, and all. Understood these three components? I'm giving a
Yeah,
brief about them.
yeah.
Playbook is nothing but which is Ansible code which will have multiple plays. Each play will have multiple tasks. Each task is nothing but automating the targets. In this process, the playbook will be calling the modules. Means in simple playbook works or connects with all of these components to execute or to do automation.
Okay.
And then I was talking about these steps. When you write the playbook, when you execute it, it will create a Python package. That package will be copied to the target machine via SSH. SSH is the way you connect from your SSH controller machine to targets. As you already have a SSH connection open, this package will be copied and the package will be executed on the target. Means it's automated. Once it's automated, it will be deleted from the target machine, keeping the system clean.
Okay.
Actually, here one thing is it's not that your packages will be downloaded from controller machine. No, you just write the code to install so and so package. Using that code, it will install on the target. It's not that it's downloading any packages, software from target machine.
Hmm.
That is a overall summary of the architecture and the process of execution. Right, like I said, this should be your Ansible Linux server. This should be a Linux only. That's another reason why we were using Linux for DevOps. Not only Ansible, Kubernetes, or Prometheus as we go by Puppet, all of them should be installed on Linux only. They can automate Windows targets, but the main server should be Linux only. And then comes Adhoc Commands, playbooks, all of them will see. First, let's go for the setup now. I'm going to start an instance. This is going to be the controller machine. Ansible controller machine. T2.micro. And I'm going to, okay, this is going to be master, so I'll use AWS key. That's all. Let me create another instance. This is target one. This can be called as target or host, Ansible host. Amazon Linux too. C2.micro. I'm going to create new key pair. You can use existing key pair also, but I just want to use a separate key for targets, which will be Ansible key. Okay, it's downloaded. That's all. Okay, controller machine and the tablet. Fine. Now it's a agentless, means you don't need to install anything here. Okay, we will not log into this machine at all. Of course, to check, to test the configurations we may do, otherwise you don't need to. So let's connect to the target. Sorry, the controller machine. Okay. So now let us install Ansible. We can work with root user also, but we will not have always root user privileges. Better work with EC2 user. Okay, now this is the home directory of EC2 user. And okay, I'm installing Ansible. Ansible is a Python application. You can install it with a pip. Pip is a Python package manager. Okay, which can manage working with the Python applications like Ansible. Pip 3. Python will be always there by default, like I told you, right? Python is there. See, by default on all Linux machines, you have Python. Python 3, the latest version is also available. Okay. Now I'm using pip3 install Ansible. Okay, so Ansible is installed. We can check the version, Ansible version, right? So it can show you that Ansible is installed. See, all the modules were installed in this path. This is where you have all your modules. We'll see that. And the Ansible is installed in this path. Config file is none. Like I told you, right, ansible.cfg is not created by default in some installations. With this kind of installation, it's not required. But if you need to customize anything, we can create it. But yeah, Ansible is installed. Now we have to open an SSH connection to the target, right? This is our target. So to do that, let's go to .ssh. So here let's create a key of this target machine. Here I'm going to use the existing key. This machine is having some key, right? Host 1. This is the one, right? I'm just placing it in the folder. Okay, so this is the private key which I want to use it. This one. This key is available on my laptop. From my laptop, I can connect to the target. Similarly, if I have this on the Linux server controller machine, even it can connect, right? I'm using the existing key. This thing we have already done, right? The same thing I'm also doing. I'm using the existing keys. Now on this target, ID RSF. Okay, so key is available. We have the targets key available here. It can connect. Also, let's create inventory file. Okay, we can create inventory file. Any name you can give. I'm giving the inventory name as Ansible inventory. Okay, let's say host details, whatever name you give. Here, what you'll write, you can put the IP address. They are communicating. Two instances are communicating, right? Private IP you can use. Private IP of the target. And key you have to provide to with what key it has to connect. SSH private. This is the variable you can provide the key. It is available in the home directory in the .ssh IDRSA. IDRSA is the private key. Also with what user you want to connect. We were connecting as EC2 user. So this is what you have to provide. Let's suppose you have one more server. You can put the IP address and its key and so on. Right? Also, let's suppose I want to group them. There were multiple servers. I want to group them. You can put the group name as web servers. All the servers you list under the square bracket, okay, will be referred as web servers group. Right? You can put all of them. All of them belongs to web server group. Also, if you have multiple servers, and if let's say all the servers uses the same key and same user, okay, instead of writing them over and again, you can write variable vars and then provide this data here. Similarly, this user information as well. And you don't need to provide that information for each server separately this way. And you may list any number of servers here. Let's say server 2, server 3's IP, and so on. All of them will be referred as web servers group. And all of them were using same private key and same user. If users are different, you have to mention beside that. This is our static inventory as of now. Is the inventory file clear for all of you? Can I go ahead?
Yes.
Let's save this. Now, I want to check the connectivity, whether it is connected or not. Ansible -m, pass the inventory file, -m. What is this m? I'll tell you. Ping target name is web servers. It will try to ping all of them. For the first time, it will ask for confirmation. Yes. It says unreachable and it says unprotected file. File should not be accessible by others. Permissions are too open. Let me change the file permissions uh, as chmod 400 and the file is under SSH IDRS. Now let's try connecting. Yes. Do you see that only one target under web servers? Web servers, we have only one target as of now. You may have 10 targets or 100 or 1000. So it is connecting and it is showing the response as a Pong means you are able to connect successfully. Right? That's all. You don't need to do anything on the target. And also, what is this command? What is this ping? -m means modules. I told you, right? You call module for any automation. Ping is one such module. Okay. And you can see all the Ansible list this way. Ansible doc -l will list all the modules. Some warnings, but yeah, all the modules you can see here. Right? And their description beside. If you want to see particular module, ping is the module name. And it shows the location of the module. Like I told, module is Python program. Do you see ping.py? Interesting, isn't it? It's just a Python program. And explanation what it does and what are all the parameters you can pass. And it is developed by some Ansible developers. There is a separate team of Ansible developers. Ansible core team, Michael Dehan developed this program. Okay, some examples how to use. Let me take you to this path. Like I have shown you during installation also. This is where modules are stored. All Python programs. Do you see that? .py programs. Clear? So this is how you have all the modules. And there were so many other modules. Let's suppose Ansible pass this. Okay, inventory file is not present here, it's present here. Now I'm calling another module Ansible -m inventory -m, let's say command module. And let's say I want to check -a for argument. You may pass some arguments like uptime. I want to know uptime of all the targets present in this group. See, 11 minutes. It's up from 11 minutes. I just created the instance, right? So again, if you want to look into this module, Ansible doc command. See, the location of the module again here, command.py, what it does, what are all the arguments you can pass, everything, documentation, right? So you can do many things as such. Let's suppose I want to know how many users present on this server. User module. Or else the user I just want to see. I want to see if user is present here or not. Let's say for testing this, I'm logging into this machine. Okay. Otherwise, you don't need to. I'm logging into this machine. EC2 user. That's having, it is using another key, right? It uses Ansible key. Let me generate PPK file using puttygen. Let's load this. All files. Then you will see the spam file and generate. Oh, sorry. It's already generated. 1 second. Puttygen. All files. The PEM file. It's already generated. You can save it as Ansible. It will be stored as ppk. Done. Can now use that to connect. Right? So yeah. So this is your target, correct? Yeah, target mission. Here, absolutely, you don't have Ansible. You have nothing. So I just want to check if, let's say, ID John means I'm just checking if John is there. No such user. Let's automate this with user module, right? Pass the arguments like name of the user, and I would like to set password to the user as well. Password is John, right? Yeah. See, it says it failed. Okay, it failed because permission denied. You are working as EC2 user. EC2 user doesn't have permissions to create the users. So I want to run this command with the sudo permissions. That's where comes become flag. If you add become means you are running this command with the sudo privileges. So if you run this, yes, do you see that? There's some change means user might have been created. You may check here this way, ID John. Right? Do you see that? John is created. Let's imagine this web service is having 1,000 servers. That's where this is important. If some only one server, I can go and create it. Understand that it's always with a huge infrastructure, right? And user module. You may be thinking, how do I know all the modules? Thousands of modules are there. You don't need to all read all of them. Documentation always. These are also predefined. It's not that you use your own attributes. Ansible doc user. See, if you scroll through, these are all the parameters. Comment, create, home, expires, force. Out of them, I'm using name. See, this one I used. Double equal to means it's a mandatory. You have to provide name. Single means hyphen means it's like optional parameters. This is mandatory. Password is also optional. I have used password as well. So these are all the different parameters you can use. It's explaining what each parameter does. It's also showing you what are the valid values you can pass, right? So you have to read it and use it. Till now, whatever I'm using, these are all called, whatever we were using, these are all called ad hoc commands. This is an ad hoc command. We didn't write playbook yet. These are ad hoc commands. But whether it is playbook or whether it is ad hoc command, the concept, how it works at the back and how it's pushing the configurations is same. Right? So these are all ad hoc commands, means single line commands which you can execute quickly to perform some tasks. See, Ansible ad hoc commands are used to accomplish tasks in case of priority. Let's say you have some urgency, you want to execute something very quickly, you may use it. But ad hoc commands cannot be reused, right? They cannot be reused. Also, you have to do one after the other. First, you have to create the user. Then with this user, you have to do something. You have to wait on each step. But rather than this, if you put all of them in a file and execute it, right? You can also establish orchestration, means you can decide which task will be executed after what. That's where playbooks comes in. Playbooks help you with a complete automation, right? It is a full-fledged automation. This is the actual way. But ad hoc commands are for quick information, quickly if you want to check they were connecting or not, or if you want to check something, you may use it. Otherwise, playbooks will do. Playbooks are the right way to do the things. I'll also show you one more thing. Let's suppose you don't have any package HTTP. Suppose I want to install it. Again, Ansible -m, the inventory file, -m, there is a yum module. Because my target is CentOS or Red Hat based, I have got a module name itself is yum. It's not because package manager is yum, you say it yum. Yum is the name of the package, name of the module, and the parameters like a name, state, okay, and then the target. And I want to run this with escalated privileges, so become. Or else if you don't use it, you can't install it. Permission issue. Do you see that? You need to be a root to perform this. Become. Right, you can see that it is all changed. Now let's check here. If you do HTTPD, see package is there, but it's not showing. Let's query it HTTPD. Yeah, you can see the version and the package information. Package is installed. Is it running? Status HTTPD. So it's inactive. Again, you have to write another ad hoc command to start it. Like after installation, Ansible -i inventory -m. There is something called service module. Service, okay, and pass the arguments like name of the service HTTPD. Status is started, right? Status started means service will be started using become flag. And also the targets, we should provide the target name, which is web servers in our case. So service should be started. Unsupported parameters. See, that's why you can't use your own values. How do you know what are the valid values? Always refer the document. Service. Okay, if you're seeing here, these are all the different arguments you have. See, state should be started or stopped. Item will not run unnecessarily. Restarted, reloaded, enabled, required. That note that reloaded will start the service if it's not already started. Even if you are chosen init system mode normally. Choices reloaded, restarted, started, stopped. Then I used actual correct only. Let me check again. I said status. Oh, state, not status. Everything. This is all of them are predefined. Values are predefined. The attribute name is predefined. Attribute name is state. Values are started, stopped. These are the valid values. You can't use something else. Am I making sense? Attribute name is predefined. Attribute values are also predefined. These should be the attribute value. I have used started. Now it should be working fine. Right? It says that it is all good. Now if you see, there is some problem with this unless you restart, it's not starting, but somehow it was working now. Okay, fine. So this is how you install a package and start the service through ad hoc commands. These are all ad hoc commands, right? Single line commands. But I can't just sit, install the package, wait for it, then start it, right? I want to do all of them together. That's where playbook comes in. Right? So we will be using playbooks for this. So always referring them on. That's the whole concept. Again, with the playbook also the same way configurations will be applied. Only the thing is these are just single line commands. We can't reuse it. So playbooks are always the better way for automation. So and modules you can refer this way, like Ansible doc, list them this way. Okay, or else you can also check from the browser. Ansible modules. Okay. Ansible module list. Give me a second. Ansible module list. Yeah. Okay, you can see all the modules list. Do you see here? All the modules. Hundreds of modules we are using. There's a module index. Okay. So if you just scroll up, all the modules you can see. They were also categorized actually. Cloud modules, clustering modules, DB modules, and so on. So you can refer them this way. Like out of which I'm using yum module. See, this is the one we were using. Installs, upgrades, downgrades, removes, list the packages, yum package manager. Only works with Python 2. Python 3 also supports. So what are all the parameters? What are all the valid choices? Explanation, everything is available. Right? Everything there. Use backend, valid search. Examples of playbooks also here. Lot of documentation which you can refer and use it. Yum is there, so many other modules here. Any questions? How you have to use modules? And also there are thousands of modules. You don't need to learn all of them. Through practice, through experience, you'll be using majority of the modules. In this course also we'll be using so many modules. Till now we have used command module, user module, um, yum module, service module, and so on, right? We'll be using so many modules related to Docker as well. So almost all the modules will be using, like generally more widely used modules. Any module you have to use the same way. So today we have done with ad hoc commands, simple commands. We'll be using playbook to do the same. And we'll be working on playbooks, handlers, roles, all of them coming up. We shall take up from here in the next session. Any questions from anyone? We will also look into the dynamic inventory. Many things are coming. Any questions? All right. So that is all for today. We shall continue from here in the next class. Thank you all. Have a good day.